Well then, ladies and gents. Yet another defeat. And I can guarantee you, Grant McCann will say that it was an impressive performance and we played well. But from a perspective watching it on the Sky Red button, I'm talking quite quietly because I need to keep, because everyone else in the house is asleep. From watching it on the Sky Red button, we weren't great, but for 50 minutes, we matched everything West Brom did on the front foot defensively. We nullified them for 50 minutes. Then they started upping the ante. They started getting more clear-cut chances. But then their goal just came out of absolutely nothing. What I don't understand is why you'd try to pass out from the back when all of the short options are tightly marked. It doesn't make sense. And to be fair, it could have been a lot more for West Brom. But like I said, we were decent defensively. Ingram made 2 or 3 good saves. There was a chance at the end where Grant was played through by Cedric Keeper from one of our late attacks, and should have scored 1-on-1 with Matt Ingram but put it wide. There was one where Jacob Greaves made a fantastic block. But then later on in the game, we could have scored. We could have easily scored 2. But for 87 minutes, we did nothing going forward at all. When we've not scored away from home since the opening day. And when we go a goal down in a game, it's over for us. Because, City fans a lot older than me will testify for this, but there have been many, even in my short time watching City, I've watched some poor performances. But never has it been this demoralising, this unhappy going into games, because we know we just can't compete. Blackpool, who came up through the playoffs last year with us, have gone up and are the highest placed team in the league of the 3 league promoted sides from League One. We had no trouble beating them across 46 games last year. We're not going to do it this year. We're not going to do it with Peterborough as long as Grant's in charge. Quite simply, he said he's judged on performances, and if that's the case, nullifying what I'd say is probably the league's 2nd or 3rd best team for 70 minutes, and thinking we could have scored 2 at the end, that'll keep him in his job. But on the flip side, he did say after Peterborough, he's judged on results. And in a results business, you can't be losing games the way we are. You simply cannot be losing the volume of games that we are. It's just not going to happen. And then towards the end, I'll touch on that briefly. Towards the end, Longman came on for Malik Wilks in 15 minutes on the pitch, if you count the stoppage time. Wilks did less than Longman did, affected the game less in 80 minutes than Longman did in 15. I said it a few weeks ago and I've got no problem saying it again. Malik Wilks has been poor this year. You know how Mitrovic always shines in the Championship and doesn't do as well in the Premier League? Well, Malik Wilks is like that between League One and the Championship, but the gap is bigger. Last year, he was probably our 2nd best player, other than George Honeyman. This year, he's up there he's in the conversation for quite possibly our worst player. And you know, if he on the off chance he's watching this, I hope that statement acts as motivation for you, Malik. Go and prove me wrong. I've spoken to you on multiple occasions, and I've spoken to people in the team. Got motivated, but it's not happening. Just, I don't know. But use the criticism I'm giving the squad as a whole as more drive. And also tell the manager that 4-3-3 don't work. And again tonight, like with Huddleston, it looks as though it's a case of we've rushed Alfie Jones back. He lasted 16 minutes before he went down injured and had to come off. And where Bernard was, I don't know. I think he's one game away from a suspension, in terms of yellow cards. So it could be something to do with that. I wanted him for Barnsley, but if he's injured, we've got 2 fit centre backs. God knows. Anyway, yeah, towards the end, Longman had 2 shots on target. He had one where he should have just hit it before taking a touch and faffing about with it, and it had probably gone in. There was a second one where it was well saved by Sam Johnson, but to be fair, it was straight at him. And then there was a third one where Lewis Potter somehow found himself with the ball on the far side of the 6-yard box. All he needed to do was shoot, but he tried to play it back into the middle to secure it, and Honeyman hit it on the volley. But his shot was so easily blocked because there were so many people just surrounding that. Lewis Potter should have just shot there. And since the opening day of the season, Lewis Potter's been crap as well. For me, the only player immune from some form... Well, he's not a player immune from any criticism, to be fair. But at least tonight, Matt Ingram made some fantastic saves, and I've been saying the same all throughout the season. Yes, he's been at fault for 2 or 3 goals. 2 of QPR's 3 he could have done better with. He maybe could have done better with, I think, was it Sheffield United's first, just off the top of my head. But he saved us so many times this year. And people saying Ingram's crap, we're conceding so many goals. Put Baxter in. You can't drop Ingram. He's been our best player this year. There's no disputing that. And Tyler Smith sat on the bench. He needs to be in there. But I don't know. We're hearing rumours about Turkish managers for after the takeover. And this talk of a takeover gives me hope. But the longer this takes to get over the line, if we get into January and it's not done, I'm resigned to the fact that we're going to have these new owners, in a division lower than we'd want, because by that time, I think the damage is already done. And Barnsley sacked their manager after a poor run of form. They're the only team heading into this game with a worse record than us. They've won their game against Derby because they've changed the manager. And that's simply what we're not doing. So, whatever, it is what it is. But we all know the problems from the top to the bottom. The very, very top with the owners to the manager, and to be fair, some of the players just aren't performing. And the team selection is very poor. Grant hasn't got much to work with. He was on a limited budget for his first 2 years. Then this year he's, of course, got the transfer embargo. However, he's not making the most of what he's had to spend. Such as Tyler Smith. Where was George Monka tonight? What's Randell Williams up to? So, I don't know. And I'm going to leave it at that. In fact, I'm going to leave you with a closing statement of goals for us since August the 8th, day after the opening day of the season. 5. The goals Fulham scored tonight against Blackburn 7. Fulham scored more goals in one night than we have since the opening day. That is quite simply embarrassing. See you later, everyone. God, Barnes is going to be a nightmare.